Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, the possibility the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas could collapse. That's the warning from President Donald Trump and Israeli analysts. And leading members of the new administration voicing their support for Israel, including taking away U.S. taxpayer funding for the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, and a key issue that could affect the biblical lands of Judea and Samaria. Amid the battle against those devastating wildfires in Southern California, help from a special team of firefighters from Israel. And our Studio 5 conversation with singer and songwriter, as well as author Tasha Layton, about the lessons learned in 2024 and what she sees ahead in 2025. All those stories and more right now on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
I want to begin this busy half hour in the Middle East, where the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is holding for now, but President Trump and others are questioning if it will last. And members of the Trump administration are making their support clear for Israel, including one which could affect the biblical lands of Judea and Samaria. Those statements coming as the president signs what some called a tsunami of executive orders, which will have an impact on Israel and the Middle East. CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell brings us the story. He's reporting from Jerusalem.
Trump's executive orders affecting Israel include revoking sanctions imposed by the Biden administration on a number of Israeli citizens in Judea and Samaria, restoring sanctions on the International Criminal Court, defunding UNRWA, authorizing deportation of visa holders involved in pro-Hamas protests, and lifting restrictions on arms sales to Israel, including the supply of 2,000-pound bombs. In his first hours in office, Trump questioned whether the days-old ceasefire between Hamas and Israel will last.
Oh, he has very good reason to be skeptical. This ceasefire hostage deal is almost certain to, at some point, collapse.
Jonathan Tobin of JNS.org told CBN's Gary Lane that while Trump's picks for his foreign policy team are pro-Israel, the deal undermines Israel's goal of defeating Hamas.
But Donald Trump, on the one hand, his administration, says they're against Hamas. They want to help Israel get rid of Hamas. But it is contradictory because this deal more or less guarantees that Hamas will take back control of most of Gaza because Israel is being forced to withdraw. It's as simple as that.
The Senate has already confirmed Marco Rubio as Secretary of State, who said Hamas can't remain in power in Gaza.
View in the context of
On Tuesday, Elise Stefanik, Trump's pick for ambassador to the UN, testified at her confirmation hearing. Stefanik is well known for grilling university presidents who tolerated anti-Semitism on their campuses. She spoke out against funding for UNRWA.
We should never tolerate any U.S. taxpayer funds going towards terrorism. As in my question with the ranking member, Shaheen, I was one of the members that voted to defund UNRWA. I was one of the leaders in standing for that important appropriations vote, which there is a bipartisan consensus on, with significant members, Republicans, as well as some Democrats who voted to defund it.
Stefanik also sees Judea and Samaria, also known as the West Bank, through a biblical lens.
This is the Israeli Finance Minister Smotrich and the former National Security Minister Ben-Gvir, who believe that Israel has a biblical right to the entire West Bank. And in that conversation, you told me that, yes, you shared that view. Is that your view today?
Yes.
With a ceasefire underway in Gaza, IDF Chief of Staff Halevi announced his resignation, citing his responsibility for the military's failure on October 7th. The head of the IDF Southern Command also stepped down, and it's expected more IDF leadership will leave their post in the near future. Meanwhile, violence continues against Israeli citizens. Tuesday in Tel Aviv, a U.S. green card holder in the country for just 3 days stabbed 4 Israelis. Many Israelis are concerned the hundreds of Palestinian prisoners to be released in the hostage deal will lead to a dramatic increase in terror attacks.
Chris joins us now to continue the conversation. So, Chris, what more can you tell us about this terrorist attack in Tel Aviv today?
Well, Ephraim, it took place at a busy area with many restaurants and cafes. The attacker himself came from Morocco, and as we said in our report, he had an American ID. Just after 3 days, he bought a knife, and then he began stabbing Israelis. One of the victims was an IDF soldier who sadly lost his arm fighting in Gaza, and then he was shot by a border police woman. Just one of many terror attacks in the last 15 months or so. And also at the same time it's going on, Ephraim, there's a major operation in Jenin. It's called Operation Iron Wall. It could last for days. It's designed to not only thwart immediate terror attacks, but also maintain IDF freedom of action in Jenin and other places in Judea and Samaria that really are hotbeds for terror activity.
Chris, our president is questioning whether the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas will actually last. Jonathan Tobin agreed. Is that a widespread belief in Israel, and what would happen if the ceasefire does collapse?
Yeah, I think there is a widespread belief within Israel that this deal would collapse. Actually, I think many hope it would collapse because it really does undermine Israel's, efforts to go ahead and defeat Hamas totally. But they do believe, and I would say that many Israelis are divided on what would happen. Many want desperately to see all the hostages come home, but many also, on the other hand, they don't want the war to end without completely defeating Hamas. And those people, many of them are parents and families of those who have fallen in battle in Gaza. They don't want their sacrifice to be in vain. I talked to a resident of one of the kibbutzim on the border with Gaza. She and others, they won't go back until they know that Hamas is completely defeated. So really, for many Israelis, it's a daunting dilemma, and why many believe that prayer is really the only way out of this situation right now.
If we do see a collapse, would that mean the fighting with Hezbollah would start up again?
Well, there were really two separate ceasefires going on, one up in the north and that one with Hezbollah and Lebanon. That expires on January 26th in just a few days. But since the beginning of that ceasefire, the IDF has been operating in southern Lebanon since the beginning. And they're doing that when they see that Hezbollah is violating the ceasefire. There is hope that the new Lebanese president, and he was voted in just a couple of weeks ago, that will bring, some sort of semblance of order in southern Lebanon. He's the former chief of staff of the Lebanese army. The hope and actually the prayer is that he will be able to prevent Hezbollah from reemerging in southern Lebanon. So you have two ceasefires going on simultaneously. One, they're up in the northern border. That too is where Israel really hasn't seen a definitive defeat of Hezbollah, and the same going on in Gaza, where Hamas is not completely defeated, and we see in just the last couple of days reemerging from their tunnels and sort of taking control over some parts of Gaza.
We saw in your report the president's nominee for ambassador to the United Nations, Elise Stefanik, and heard her speaking out against U.S. funding for the United Nations Relief and Works Agency. Why is that such an important issue for Israel?
Well, for Israel, for example, they banned UNRWA here in Jerusalem, and after October 7th especially, they see UNRWA and Hamas as inseparable. You had UNRWA employees who actually participated in October 7th. The facilities in Gaza were often used by Hamas, and one of the main UNRWA facilities actually had Hamas tunnels underneath that facility. And many employees of UNRWA were also members of Hamas. So all in all, after the last 15 months or so and the more exposure that there's been about UNRWA's relationship with Hamas, there's really no appetite to have UNRWA here in Israel.
Chris Stefanik also said that she believes Israel has a right to the entire area known as the West Bank, which is the biblical lands of Judea and Samaria. How do you think the Israeli government is going to deal with this issue?
Well, I don't think they're going to do anything right now, but there are different views within here in Israel and within the government and the Knesset. Some members of the Knesset believe the way to peace is really declaring sovereignty over Judea and Samaria. Others wouldn't want to go that far. But last year, the Knesset voted against a two-state solution by a large majority, especially after October 7th. They don't see a two-state solution with certainly not Hamas and and not either the Palestinian Authority that something would work. One plan that has been presented, and that's by former U.S. Ambassador to Israel, David Friedman. He wrote a book called The One Jewish State. He believes that declaring sovereignty over Judea and Samaria would be a win-win for both Israelis and Palestinians. He makes the point that the so-called two-state solution hasn't worked for about 30 years. Groups like Hamas and many people argue part of the Palestinian Authority, really, they want a one-state solution by replacing Israel with the Palestinian state. So really a bit of a division here in ideas about what will happen. But certainly the declaring sovereignty on Judea and Samaria is gaining some attention here in Israel.
All right, I thank you so much. Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief, Chris Mitchell, thank you for your insights as always. And of course, we'll be checking in with you in the days ahead. Coming up here at home, a special team of firefighters from Israel coming to the U.S. to help battle those devastating wildfires in Southern California. We're going to have that story for you when we come back. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. Winter weather is making its presence known with a major winter storm that slammed Texas and blanketed the northern Gulf Coast with record-breaking snow, moving east overnight, spreading heavy snow, sleet, and freezing rain across parts of the Florida Panhandle, Georgia, and eastern Carolinas. The storm already hitting Texas and the northern Gulf Coast, blanketing New Orleans and Houston with snow, closing highways and grounding nearly all flights. The weather prompted the first ever blizzard warnings for several coastal counties near the Texas-Louisiana border. A tangible sign of the U.S.-Israel friendship on display in Southern California with the help of a special team of Israeli firefighters. As the wildfires started tearing through the city, the Israeli consulate in Los Angeles spearheaded an effort to bring their experts. CBN's Paul Petit brings us that story.
Some 14,000 firefighters have teamed up to help combat what could be the costliest natural disaster in U.S. history. They include a team from Israel.
We drove in those neighborhoods. There's nothing there.
This team of 13 firefighters see their contribution as a way to give back.
You guys are always stood and stand next to Israel, behind Israel, and now it's the time for Israel to come and stand behind the United States.
Li-Shay Moore is Israel's operation officer. After touring the damage, she compared it to Gaza and hopes her team can share best practices to ensure a fire of this magnitude never happens again.
And I looked at it and I said, oh my God, we must stop it. We must do everything to come, to support and to help you, because we cannot let it go like this. We must save our places, our home, our land.
This group is not just firefighters, they're fire experts. Dr. Shay Levy wrote a book on wildfires and researches embers.
Sometimes you're with the crews, the fire crews, and you can't see it because of the smoke, and you focus on the fire, and suddenly the fire starts in another area.
The relationship between California and Israel firefighters began in 2010, when then California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger sent a contingency of California firefighters to Israel to help battle the Carmel fires there.
And we're talking to them and learning how that they manage incidents over there, and we're embedding them, and it's a learning process. All of us can learn from each other as we have different dynamics and incidents in what we do.
It just so happens the fires broke out January 7th, exactly 15 months after Hamas attacked Israel. Somehow, both events are now serving to bring these two allies closer together.
Now, right now, this our time and this our turn to come and to support you at your tough times.
In Los Angeles, Paul Petit, CBN News.
And CBN's Operation Blessing is on the scene in the Los Angeles area, working with other ministries, providing food, bottled water, and much more to those in need after these devastating fires. If you would like to help Operation Blessing's disaster relief efforts in Southern California, simply go online to ob.org to find out exactly how you can donate. Still ahead, our Studio 5 conversation with singer, songwriter, and author Tasha Layton, including a look back at her life in 2024 and the lessons learned. and a look ahead as well. We'll hear from her right after this. Welcome back to CBN News Watch. Recently, singer and songwriter and author Tasha Layton performed at the Museum of the Bible. I sat down with her just moments before she began her performances. She shares her music, takes a sweet look back at the life lessons learned in 2024, and gives us a preview of what's ahead this year.
This looks impossible, but you're the God of impossible. I've seen your faithfulness all over my life.
So we sit now here at the end of 2024. If you could look back, what's the year been like?
This year's been about trust.
I know my God can do it, so I'm gonna worship through it.
My husband and I have had a really hard year. We've walked through a lot of shifts on our team, and it's been tough. But I think overall, the theme that has just resonated throughout has been trust. Trust in the Lord. He's got it. He's got you. He's not going to leave you abandoned or forsaken.
Yes.
He's going to do it.
I will sing hallelujah to the one who can do what the world says can't be done.
When we battle on our knees instead of in the flesh,
Yes, yes.
it really does make a difference. And it stirs up a trust in you that you don't even know was there.
I know my God can do it, so I'm gonna worship through it.
We sit here at the Museum of the Bible, literally days before Christmas. Why add this to your plate?
This place means a lot to me. I was here just about a month or so ago to do their gala, and it's a once-a-year event they do for their donors, and I sang with Matthew West for the gala, and I walked around this place. I saw where we were located in this city, in the country, in the world. This building alone is a testament to faith. It is a testament of God making this happen, because it's not easy to have something like this in DC. And so I think, this building alone, I believe in the vision. And so I was like, I'll do anything for them. I want to support their cause. I want to support what they're doing here. They're bringing, just awareness to how the Bible has influenced our culture. I mean, you can see scrolls, you can see mosaics, you can see it all here. And it's just beautiful what they're doing. So yeah, I'll do anything for them. It's great.
So as we close the door in 2024, what's ahead? What can we look forward to?
Next year holds a lot. I'm starting the year in the spring with a tour with Lisa Turkhurst, which I'm super excited about. She and I are about a lot of the same things in regards to inner healing and just personal growth, mental health. And so I'm super excited about that. And then I'm going on to with Danny Goki right after that.
Yes.
And then summer of one-offs. I usually take the summer to sort of write on a resource. So like books or some sort of thing. And then the fall, I'll be doing a headlining tour and a headlining Christmas tour. So I'm so excited about that. We did it this past year and it was really successful. And so we're gonna go all out next year. I'm so excited. I mean, I'm excited now for next year's Christmas.
Tasha Layton is on tour and beginning another one next month. Find out where she will be at tashalayton.com. In other entertainment news, the film Green and Gold premieres in just a few days. The story revolves around a struggling dairy farmer who is fighting to preserve his family's land despite tremendous setbacks. It stars Emmy and Golden Globe nominated actor Craig T. Nelson, who plays the role of Buck. He shared with Studio 5 why he said yes to this role.
I think one of the main reasons was his walk, his faith walk, and that sometimes you have to get to that point of brokenness and despair before you realize you need, and when you realize that you're powerless, and you're brought to that point, and that's when you're perhaps more teachable than others.
Indeed. The film is inspired by the grandfather of producer David Linwell and director Anders Linwall.
You know, our grandfather was a dairy farmer, and that farm was closed when we came around, but we kind of grew up around some of that community and just it's as close to, physically, location wise, it's really close to our home, which is kind of right on the Wisconsin, northern Michigan border. And so, but yeah, we just always had like a passion for telling stories about that area. And this is really our first opportunity to get a chance to share kind of the beauty of what we grew up around and the beauty of the people up there.
Green and Gold premieres in theaters January 31st. And be sure to join us for an all-new episode of Studio 5. We're going to sit down with recording artist Anthony Evans. He gives us a glimpse into his family, his life, and his future in music. You can catch the all-new episode of Studio 5 on the CBN News Channel. It begins at 8 Eastern. You can also watch it on the CBN News app, or you can find it on YouTube as well. We're coming back with an encouraging word for your Wednesday. Stay with us. Time now for your Wednesday word, and today's word is peace. Here's my encouragement for you today. Allow the peace of God to sustain you. Stand still and know God is on the throne. He has not forgotten you. You may feel alone. You may feel tired. You may even want to throw up your hands and quit. Don't do it. God's peace is yours, even in this rough moment. Stand still, stand firm, and when you have done all you can do to stand, keep standing. That will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. You can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel at any time. You can find them online as well at cbnnews.com. Take a moment. Let us know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Goodbye. God bless.